Hello everybody, my name is Phrasal Rich and today I'll be answering your questions about English learning and education in general. I'll be taking questions from the live chat, so if you have a question for me that you think I can help with, then you can type that question into the live chat now and I will do my best to answer it. Just to give you some context, I've been teaching English for 16 years and I'm very heavily involved in education, language teaching and academia in general. I have completed a master's in applied linguistics and I'm working on another master's in the near future. And I have strong opinions on the best ways of learning, but I don't believe in definites. I believe in finding the best way with the current information we have based on the situation of an individual learner. I don't think there's just one way to do things, but I think there are many ways that have advantages and disadvantages, and by learning more about different ways of doing things, then we can learn more effectively, more efficiently, in more sustainable and engaging ways. These are some of the key words which I think we should always associate with education: sustainable, engaging, and so on. So I'll start with your questions now. We have a question about English from Sleepwalker, who says, break in on someone's conversation and break up someone's conversation. What is the difference? I think both mean to interrupt someone talking. They are a little different, actually, Sleepwalker. In fact, I would say that they are significantly different. So to break in is the same like breaking into a house. It means you're entering without an invitation. Now, breaking into a conversation may not necessarily be negative. It could just be that you've entered a conversation without an invitation to enter. Could you just allow me to break in for a moment? We could use to say that we're entering into the conversation and that we have something to say, but we weren't necessarily invited into the conversation. However, break up is significantly different. Break up a conversation normally would actually mean to stop it by separating elements of it. So when we say break up, what we actually mean is we're separating elements of something. Like if you break up a table, then you take the legs and take parts off the table. You separate the parts of the table. So if we break up a conversation, it means that we're going to take away the people involved in the conversation to stop the conversation. Now, normally we wouldn't use break up like that with conversation. Instead, we might say something like break up an argument or break up a fight. But we could break up a conversation particularly if the conversation is a topic that we don't want to be discussed. It's a topic that might lead to a conflict or drama. In that situation, maybe we want to break up the conversation. So as you can see, they are significantly different. Now, the definition you gave is, you said, I think both mean to interrupt someone talking. So actually, I don't think I would use either of those as the best way of saying that with a conversation. So let's think of something which might be more common, more everyday for people to use? The word interrupt itself is probably the first one that I would go to. Do you mind if I interrupt a second? He came in and just interrupted our conversation. Jump in. Could you allow me to just jump in for a moment? You've come in, you've just jumped into the conversation. So jump in is the one that I would use there to mean something like basically break into a conversation, but it would be more common to use the word jump in. So jump in, which is interrupt or go into a conversation without a direct invitation. All right, so that is Sleepwalker's question dealt with. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm sorry for breaking your conversation, but I have some news. No, I don't think so, Sleepwalker. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to jump in. I'm sorry to interrupt. Sorry to jump in. Something that people say is also something like, can I just stop you for a moment? Can I just say something real quick? Can I just say something for a second? Can I just say something for a sec? Can I just say something for a second? So we have, I'm sorry to jump in. Can I just stop you for a moment? Can I just say something real quick? Can I just say something for a second? And Lillian Custom-Fuhr is in a funny mood. As you all know on this channel, I am already married. But I'll assume that you were kidding, Lillian. It was a question in a test. Oh, so I thought break up would be suitable. I think what I would need there, Sleepwalker, is I would need the specific context to know exactly how that question was presented in the test. As I've said, from my perspective, I wouldn't use break in or break up as a collocation with conversation. Break in the conversation, break up conversation. Not in terms of a phrase to use when you're entering into a conversation anyway. I'm trying to think of something similar that we might use break in or break up for. I really can't think of one. Was that UK English? Of course, Lillian, stick around. And if you have any questions about English, type them in the chat. Break off. Break off. Break off. Break off means when you have a large group and a small part of the group comes off. So that's break off. Like if you have a crowd of people, then one person or a few people break off. So, okay, we're going to explore phrasal verbs with break. We can do that. Let's load up a whiteboard and get into phrasal verbs with break. Why not? there are quite a few phrasal verbs with break. Some of them are literal and some of them are idiomatic. So let's jump right in and try some of those. And I would like some sort of a mind map. I'm sure that looks good. So what have we had so far? We've got break in, break up, break off. And break in, we had means enter without an invitation, literally. Break up means separate something into small pieces. And break off means take one smaller piece take one smaller piece or group of pieces off a larger collection or thing. It'd be nice if this could wrap. Let me just see if it can wrap. Yes, it can. Great. It's a nice tool, this, isn't it? This is Miro. It's quite good software. It's free. Well, you can have a paid version. I'm using the free version right now. Yeah, I'm sorry, Pachu, but I was too busy to do a good job at preparing it, and I don't want to give classes which are not high quality, so I decided we'll save the topic for another day. I do have the research semi-prepared, but I need longer to prepare it properly. I'm happy to discuss the topic in general, though, if you had some questions about it. Basically, the topic for today was going to be about high grammar, complex phrases which you can use in giving your opinion. So basically, very useful phrases for IELTS Task 3. Break up could be come up with an idea. Like break up an idea? No. We can have breakdown. Breakdown, which means explain in simple steps. In simple, smaller steps. And it also means erode. Bring up. Yes, bring up an idea, which means you have an idea and you want to bring that idea into the conversation. So you bring it up. Anyone got any other ideas with break? Break out. Yes, definitely. We have break out. Break out, which means escape. Break on. Break on. Break on. Break on. No. I have turmoil in my head instead of a brain. You just have a high level of awareness, Manuel. If you have a high level of awareness, everyone has turmoil inside their brain. It's called being human. Just some people are able to distract themselves from the turmoil, and other people are aware of it. Oh, breakdown can also be, yeah, you're right. It can be like the car broke down, like stopped working. So we should add that one. Breakdown. It's broken down. Broken down. When technology stops working due to a problem. I'm just going to say that. When technology stops working. Like my PC's broken down, the computer's broken down, the machine's broken down. It's normally a machine. Breakthrough. Oh, yes. So breakthrough, we've got a few things with breakthrough. Breakthrough, meaning pass through a barrier. It's not just pass through a barrier, is it? It's force through a barrier. There's some kind of barrier. You force through it. That would be breakthrough. Now, obviously, we have the noun, a breakthrough, which means an important discovery, which significantly improves technology or improves our current understanding. That is a breakthrough as a noun. There must be something else with breakthrough as a verb. Yes, there is. Yeah. It's kind of similar, I suppose. But we could say something about a radio. And break up as well. And it's not just a radio, it's just some kind of electronic signal. Like if someone's breaking up on the phone, you can't hear them. Hello there. Hello to Nepal. I've never been to Nepal yet. One day, probably. Break up is used in school. Yeah, that's right. Break up for the holidays. It means end of the school term and beginning. This is annoying me. Beginning the holidays. The sun broke through the clouds. Yeah, that's good. It's not appear from behind though, is it? It's break through a barrier. So it's that the sunlight is breaking through the barrier of the clouds. So which one should be here? I'm sorry for breaking your conversation, but I have some news. Yeah, it's up. It's up, sleepwalker. Breaking up. And the meaning is, it's really this one, that you're separating people. As I said, we can use this like, so break up a conversation just means you're separating the people involved. Yeah, so you were right. I wouldn't use it myself like that, though. Sorry for interrupting, surely. I'm sorry for jumping in. That's normally what people say. One of the things is that we often talk about me in English. So it's not, could you give me a bag? It's, could I have a bag? Right, so very often in English, we use the I rather than the you. I think because it's considered more polite. So instead of saying, sorry for breaking up your conversation, we'd say, could I jump in? Or I'm sorry for jumping in. So we often talk about I rather than you. Monkeypox. That's an invention by the CIA used to control our minds. And hello, Emmanuel. So I'm taking English questions and education questions, if anybody has any. We've just been talking about the different phrasal verbs that you can make with break. Phrasal verbs are annoying. You know, one of the problems is that we often learn them in this way, which is a form-based analysis. What we have here is a form-based analysis. And often you will see a form-based analysis. So what we're doing here is we're taking the form break and then we're looking at all of the collocations with break and the different meanings. But actually, it tends to be better, and you know I believe in this, to have instead a meaning-based analysis. It's not even an analysis, really. It's just a meaning-based brainstorm. So what would it mean to have a meaning-based analysis? Well, that would mean that we'd have, for example, let's get our template again. Should we use a different one? So this time, instead of having the word break at the start, then we're going to have a function, a meaning. We're going to have separate. So that's our function. And then we're going to have ways of saying separate. So we've got break up. We've got split up. We've got pull apart. We've got scatter. Okay. And we have go different ways. Okay. So here we have a meaning-based analysis. So we're saying the meaning of all these things is separate. And here they are. And we can talk about the subtle differences of them. You know, what they tend to be used for. Split up can be used for relationships, ending. So obviously the common one. pull apart is a specific type of separate, where an external force pulls parts in opposite directions. Scatter, which means separate pieces of something in many different directions. Okay. So that's a meaning-based analysis, and I think that that can help phrasal verbs be less annoying, Sleepwalker, because now you're learning these phrases related to that meaning. So we learn like break up, and notice the pronunciation, break up. We have the linking, break up. Phonemically, break up, something like break up, like this. You can just say it as one word, break up, in terms of sound, break up, break up, break up. Which obviously is different than the other word. It's not a word, it's an utterance, but it's different than the other word, which we can consider breakthrough, or break down, break down, break down. Break down, break down, break down, break down, break down, break it down. There's a something like that. Oh, break down, break down, break down. So break up, break down. You can see in terms of sound, we can actually just look at them as different things. Break up, break down. The problem is that in many course books, we have this kind of form-based analysis. And the other problem is, if you remember recently, I was talking about age-based differences in learning. The other problem is that as we are adults, we really like to have this analytical mindset. So we like to analyze things on a form-based way. We really like it. And actually, our mind does make form-based connections. It absolutely does. It's one of the reasons why we're so good at word families, right? Like, we are really good at word families. Humans are really good at word families, you know? So if you give someone a word like oh, sorry, 1 second. If you give someone a word like educate, then they'll quite happily tell you about education, an educator, and educational, and educationally, right? And even uneducational, and so on and so on. Oh, that's not a word, really? We have got no uneducational. Okay. Word families gone wild, folks. Yeah, we're very good at word families because it's form-based. And we're very good at these form-based things and we like them, right? But the reality is that most language is not form-based, although the form-based elements are very useful. A lot of it isn't, so we should definitely do some, and I would say a lot, of meaning-based analysis. Form-based is still useful, but as a general rule, course books and students focus too much on form-based analysis and not enough on meaning-based. This is why kids are so good with languages, by the way, because kids are interested in meaning-based. One of the reasons, anyway. Yep, I can do that, Asmina. I just want to answer Pachu's question, how phrasal verbs taught in English class. So there are many different ways of doing it, but in general, we often have the form-based analysis, and you'll see it in many books as well. So that you're taught like this, but I wouldn't. I would prefer most of the time to do them like this. So what would we have? We'd have, for example, a story about a space adventure. And then we have So, hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about a space adventure. I'm going to tell you a story about a space adventure, a real space adventure that really happened. Before I tell you the story, I'd like you to look at the phrases on the board, and could you predict what this story is about? What do you think happens in the story? All these phrases on the board are related to the story. Okay, so that's how, Pachu, I would introduce phrasal verbs like this. And obviously, you need to know the meaning to talk about that. So sometimes students will ask the meaning, sometimes they'll guess the meaning, that sort of thing. So that's how we introduce it, and then I would clarify the meaning. We do some meaning-based practice, etc. And obviously, at some point, I tell the story of Apollo 11 or something. Right, let's go back to Asmina's question. He said, could you teach us some colloquial expressions about the internet? Can I just clarify, Asmina, do you mean colloquial expressions to say on the internet or colloquial expressions to talk about the internet? So are we talking about saying on the internet or talking about the internet? Let me know. That's not just phrasal verbs, though, is it, Sleepwalker? That's everything. I mean, how many meanings does the word get have? How many meanings does the word... How many meanings does the word chew have? Do you know chew, the word chew? How many meanings does it have? What do you think? Chew. Have a guess, folks. What do you think? How many meanings does the word chew have? Asmina wants both. Okay, I'll come back to yours question in a second. Let's just do this. How many meanings does the word chew have? 1, 2, 3. Let me give some examples, and you can tell me if these are the same meaning. Several, yeah, exactly. And it's quite a specific word, isn't it? Chew. Like, would you expect chew to have several? But it absolutely does, doesn't it? Like, so something that mothers say to their kids, you must chew your food before you swallow. Your stomach doesn't have teeth. That's the common version of chew. Then we could have something like... So my car broke down. You never believe what happened. The old oily rag I used to check the oil levels got caught in the engine. It got all chewed up in the engine and pulled the belt off. I haven't decided if I should do a doctorate yet. I'm still chewing it over. So even with a pretty simple word like chew, we've got 3 quite different meanings. Oh, and another one. The boss just chewed me out, and I have no idea why. I'm kind of cheating because I'm using phrasal verbs here. But yeah, chew me out, which means tell someone off. Right. Okay, let's go back to Asmina's question about the internet. So he wants to know both. Colloquial expressions about the internet and colloquial expressions to use on the internet. Let's start with about the internet. Colloquial expressions about the internet. Spend time on. Haven't got any Wi-Fi. Got Wi-Fi. Internet's rubbish today. Get off the internet. Get off. Yeah, people say they need to get off the internet if they've spent too much time on it. Spend time on the internet. Spend time on the internet. I spend a lot of time on the internet. Get the internet hooked up. When you move to a new house. It basically means get connected, by the way. Google something as a verb. We got any others, folks? Switch off the laptop. Not necessarily internet, is it? All right, so that's talking about the internet. Obviously, we've got things as well like browsing, chatting. Browsing, chatting, search for something. Obvious stuff. Look it up. Okay, so there's some phrases about the internet. Let's move on to phrases you say on the internet. So phrases you say on the internet. It's mainly acronyms, and a lot of them are not good. As in kind of bad language. Obviously, we've got lol and all the smileys. That one. Which means, what the frick? It's another word, which I'm not going to say. I don't even like having that on the channel. It's a bit crass, isn't it? But can be rude. People say it. There's also FFS, which is that one. People often say chuck or send me an invite. Chuck me an invite. Just chuck me an invite. I've noticed something that has started to happen. I can't guarantee this will become a phrase, but using GPT as a verb, like GPT it. But I can't guarantee that's going to become a thing. I've just heard a few nerds say it, like me. Fire up. Fire up the computer, fire up Discord, fire up YouTube, fire up Zoom, fire things up. Just means, it means start. Oh, also, there's also WTH here. And some other acronyms that people use quite a lot. FYI, as far as I know. TTYL, people still use sometimes. MIO. So, in my opinion, talk to you later. As far as I know, and for your information. There you go. All right, so there's our bits and bobs. You can take a screenshot of that. Put those in your handwritten notes. Handwritten notes the best. Hello, cow. I just got to that. How are you doing? Nice. That's right. Chew. Chew. Can I ask, Cal? Because I actually don't know. What is that part over ch? Oh, because it's a diphthong. Is that why? Ch. I wouldn't normally put that in the British IPA because in British IPA it has to be a diphthong because you don't have a sound that is t, sh, as separate monophthongs. But I don't know if that's why you put it. Astronauts break up in the atmosphere. Yes, yes, yes. Printer is broke. Well, I don't know, Pachu, because it depends on your class. So that depends a lot on your teacher and your class. To be honest, you may want to ask your teacher about that in private. So after class, go to your teacher and then one-to-one, ask your teacher, say, oh, I want to do better in class. What should I do? They will really like it, by the way. If you say something like that to your teacher, they'll be like, wow, okay, let me tell you. Which sentence is incorrect? Look at the punctuation. We are sitting here waiting for you. We are sitting here waiting for you. We are sitting here and waiting for you. Number 2 is incorrect. Number 2 is incorrect, Dan. So 1 and 3 are okay. Because waiting for you is talking about the method in which you are sitting. Is that right? I'm not brilliant at gerundial clauses, but I know that number 2 is wrong. I'm looking at it and it feels wrong. Trying to think of a reason why. Let me get the reason. It's funny because apparently it's not wrong. It's just it can be seen as clunky. Let me look at the others again. We are sitting here waiting for you. Now that's definitely okay. We are sitting here waiting for you. We are sitting here and waiting for you. That's definitely okay as well. Yeah. We are sitting here and waiting for you. We're sitting here waiting for you. We're sitting here and waiting for you. We are sitting here waiting for you without the comma. Yeah, I think, actually, I don't think there's a reason why any is incorrect, but 2 is a bit clunky because of the comma. Hi, Rich. I wonder if we make any connection between phrasal verbs that we're learning with idioms so that students can double the benefits and can memorize better. The thing is, Cal, so first of all, let's just clarify what we mean here by these terms, right? So an idiom is an idiomatic phrase, right? Now, phrase means any number of words, normally 1 to 3 words, but can be any number. So it's just a group of words together is a phrase. And idiomatic means doesn't have literal meaning. So an idiom is a phrase that doesn't have a literal meaning, right? And we can talk about something being more idiomatic or less idiomatic, right? So some things are very idiomatic, like the elephant in the room is very idiomatic. Although it's very idiomatic, but there's things which are more idiomatic, actually. There's things that are more idiomatic than that, like like the bee's knees. The bee's knees, which means really great. The elephant in the room means the obvious thing which people are willfully ignoring normally in conversation. So you can see like the elephant in the room is less idiomatic than the bee's knees, because we can maybe guess with the elephant in the room, we can kind of guess that it's a big thing that people are ignoring. Like if we even said the invisible, or no, not the invisible, the elephant in the room which people are ignoring, it actually really makes sense. But the bee's knees? Really great? How does that make sense? Why are bee's knees great? I have no idea. So, you know, you can definitely get things which are more idiomatic. And then, you know, you get less idiomatic. You might have something like break up for separate, you know. And then we get something which is really, really literal, like get up. Like, I'm going to get up. And then something even more literal, like what's the most literal thing we can possibly do ever? Don't know, like walk. Like, what does walk mean? It means walk. Okay. What does get up mean? It means get up. Okay. What does break up mean? Well, you know, separate. Kind of, you know, there's a break involved, like a break of a connection, but is it literal? Elephant in the room. Okay, we can guess. The bee's knees. Right, so first of all, you have a scale of idiomatic with idioms. And, you know, we could argue that all of, at least these, we could argue that they're idioms, but probably people consider those to be idioms, right? Now, the problem is with idioms is that they're often going to be, or they might well be, things which don't give you a good indication of the meaning of the phrasal verb, right? Like, I mean, they might help you with the phrasal verb, but they might not. Like, if we have something like roll out the red carpet, right, which means do some special preparation for a guest, right? Are you going to roll out the red carpet? Here, you know, actually we could, if we understood that, we could learn a little bit about roll out. What does it mean to roll out? Well, it's, you know, roll out, right? I don't know when else you would really use roll out, to be honest. Roll out the sleeping bag. Yeah. This is the problem with setting these kind of constraints, Cal. It becomes quite difficult to make it useful. But let's say that we learn an idiom like ring a bell, which means sound familiar, right? Something sounds familiar, or it means like you recognize something, but you're not quite sure why. Okay, that's when something rings a bell. Now, the thing is, you could learn that ring a bell means that you recognize something, but you're not sure why. You don't actually need to learn anything about ringing and bells. So you don't actually need to learn the components of an idiom. So that's where it might come unstuck. That if you learn roll out the red carpet means doing special preparation for a guest, that doesn't necessarily teach you anything about what roll out means. So if you meant this, then I'm not sure how you would do it. But anyway, I encourage experimentation of this kind for sure. So even just talking about this is fun, right? So, you know, there's some benefit. Yeah, so what you are, because actually I would argue that chew there has totally different meanings. So what you're doing is you're noticing a form-based connection, which is something we looked at the start of class. We looked at form-based connections with break. And you're noticing a form-based connection with chew. It just happens that you've also chose two idioms, or idiomatic phrases at least. So you've got chew out, which means shout at someone. Chew the fat, which means talk about stuff, have a chat with friends. Chew your food, which means eat food. Or, well, actually it means you do that with your teeth to make the food into smaller parts. Okay, so that's like, we're looking at it like a form-based analysis, which as adults we love to do because we are analytical. And so we love to do form-based analysis. But my argument was that we should try to focus a bit more on meaning-based analysis, where we have the meaning at the center, and then we look at all the things that mean that, and maybe learn two of them. Okay, don't learn all five. You'll just get confused. Or if you know three of them, then learn the other two, right? So meaning-based analysis. So my suggestion was to move more towards a meaning-based analysis rather than form-based. FOMO, yes, I missed that one. That's a good one. And that's not just the internet. People use that on their phones all the time. Well, IPA generator, interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's no one way of writing or interpreting phonemes. There really isn't. And not only that, I mean, phonemes are an approximation, right? I would say they are less accurate than musical notes. And if you're a strong musician, you know that a musical note is not 100% accurate. You can have like a high E and a low E. Like if the E is just getting a little bit closer to an F. I mean, we know this. If you take the string and you bend it, right? There's a whole range of bend. It doesn't go, it goes, right? It's the same with sounds. So, you know, someone does a schwa and it's, another person does it and it's, another person does it and it's, right? So some people might say father. Some people say father. Some people say father. Right? Right? And by the way, if you're interested in that, those are called allophones. So an allophone, I might be misspelling that. It might be like that. Yeah, it is. It's double L. So allophones are variations in sound between the way people... No, that's not right. Variations in acceptable ways of pronouncing the same phoneme. Yes, that's an allophone. And essentially, this is one of the things that leads to accents. Another thing that leads to accents is when people just use a different phoneme for a sound. Like in the New Zealand accent, they use this in place of this. So, no. In place of this. So instead of head, they say head. Head. Instead of bed, they say bed. 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 Head. Head. Listen to someone from New Zealand, that's what they say. Head instead of bed. Instead of head, they say head. Head. And in North England, I talk about this one a lot. I can talk about a few from Northern England because I am from Northern England. So in Northern England, we've got, we don't say the there is no sound. We always say o. So instead of must, it's must. And instead of but, it's but. But we must go, must. But, yeah, so there's that. And the other big one is we never say this one, air. I love that sound as well, but in the Northwest, they don't say. In the Northeast, they say this sometimes. In the Northwest, they don't. They just say So instead of hair, people say her. And instead of fair, they say fur. Instead of chair, they say chair. Hair. Her. Yeah, so. And this is different. This is not allophones. This is, we could call it a phonemic drift or phonemic shift, or we could just call them variations in the standard. Okay. Phonemes are fun. Were I to be born again, I would be writing every now and again on the internet. On the other hand, makes one's blood boil. Not sure what you're talking about. Missing all this now. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Etch, to cut a picture pattern, etc. into a smooth surface, especially on metal or glass, using acid or a sharp instrument, is using a reduced present participle clause. Whoa! Dan, have you bought a copy of Martin Parrott's Grammar for English Language Teachers? So I would say yes, it is. It's because it's like, wait a minute. Acid or a by using. I'm changing my mind because reduced present participle clause is something we use when we have a relative clause, isn't it? So reduced present participle clause is if we say something like It's when we say something like, look at the guy who is riding an elephant. And then we could say, look at the guy riding an elephant. Okay, so that is a reduced present participle clause. I'm not sure if I would want to call it present participle. I'll just call it participle clause. So this is a reduced participle clause where who is gets reduced, and it's from a relative clause. But with this other one, I think it's just a case of ellipsis. Why do I always get ellipsis and elision mixed up? Ellipsis, which means emission. Yes, it is. It's ellipsis. I think it's just a case of ellipsis, which is we do this by using string. We do this using string. So in this case, it's the omission of by with ellipsis. So I would call this a participle phrase or a reduced adverbial clause. Or just an adverbial clause. Maybe I think it's the word reduced I don't particularly like as well. I just want to call it, I mean, because we could actually call it a present participle clause, because it is. I suppose you could call it a reduced. You know, who's going to tell you that you can't? It is reduced, and the form is a present participle clause. So, yeah, call it a reduced part. It's just that normally when we talk about reduced participle clauses, we talk about moving from a relative clause to this. But this is certainly another thing which could be called a reduced participle clause. I would tend to put this under something else, though. Elision. Something like that. And by the way, the only reason there's a comma here is because of the inserted clause, especially the inserted adverbial or prepositional phrase, especially on metal or glass. Without that, you won't have the comma, in my opinion. Yeah, as explained, Dan, I don't think it's a reduction of that. I listen to news commentary, Fluent English with me. I have quite strong negative views on the journalist profession. I was a journalist for a short time. I got the qualification. I have the, not just I got it, I have it. I have the qualification called the NCTJ, which is the National Council for the Training of Journalists. I got that when I was 24. That's to become a journalist in the UK. And ever since then, my love affair with journalism has gone down and down and down to the point where I actually think that journalists are doing some of the worst work of anyone in our society at this point. I think they are damaging our society, and not just in this country, but all over the place. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean all of them. There are some good ones, and I've recommended them before. Glenn Greenwald, he's one of my favorite. Love Glenn Greenwald. And, okay, yes, he has strong opinions, and he gets excitable, and he's far right. but I like Tucker Carlson. I also like Joe Rogan, and you can call him a podcaster, but I'll call him a journalist. I think he is a journalist. I think he has interviews with very intelligent people. He just did an interview with Peter Thiel. He's interviewed Elon Musk twice. He's interviewed a lot of very important people, very big thinkers, academics, politicians, all kinds of people. I think he's a really good journalist. And I think that listening to his podcast is well worth your time. That's the Joe Rogan Experience. Well worth your time. Thank you very much, Manuel. Always happy for you to join us. I think I'm going to wrap up myself. So, hey, smash that like button and hit subscribe, but I know you guys already have. I wasn't going to make this one live, but actually, maybe I will. Maybe I will make this one live. So, yeah, I was going to make it not public, but we're going to make it public. Let me just change the settings. Because, hey, answered some questions. Some people might get some stuff out of it. So let's do that. All right. All right. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. Have a lovely weekend. I will do that class on advanced phrases as I promised. And that will be probably on Wednesday. Should be okay. But it's very busy at the moment because I'm coming to the end of a university pre-sessional course, which I'm teaching. And that takes a lot of my energy and time. So I should be here on Wednesday, but if not, then I'll see you next Saturday. See you later, folks. Bye for now.